And was also designed to protect our military who is overseas could be arrested for committing crimes and so on and tried in the ICC. So there is a degree of what some observers say, a degree of duality there. You believe in the ICC when it captures people and tries people that you don't like, but when you might be implicated, maybe you're not so enthusiastic about the ICC. It's been a big issue when I was involved with it and so forth. And the proponents of the ICC initially were many African countries, and I think your own country here, right? But now that the ICC is going to get some of these people from these parts of the world, I hope they don't come to the Caribbean. Well, I don't think anybody in the Caribbean merits going to the ICC except as an observer, right? As I would. There is a kind of, I think the professor was talking about that implicitly. There's a kind of thing in all its flux that you have to be quick on your feet and find ways. When I was challenged once when I was teaching diplomats at the George Shultz School, I invited one of our prominent ambassadors to come and speak, to these young diplomats. And some young diplomat raised logic. How can we America, be talking about human rights and we support regimes that are engaged in human rights abuses? You know what, this very well-known ambassador, I won't tell you his name because he appears on TV all the time, he said, that's different. That's different. He says, those analogies are intellectually logical and you're good thinkers, but in essence, that case you're bringing up is different from that case. That's different. Now, you would say that is a kind of shove off and not really addressing the question. It's a very serious question. Whether Obama is committed to all of the implications of being committed to multilateralism. The UNDP does a lot of work. UNCTAD, all of these organizations, that UNESCO, they do tremendous work. Not to mention peacekeeping and peacemaking. I worked with these people in the field in Bosnia, doing tremendous, committed and so forth. But multipolarity and multinationalism are not popular words in the lexicon of the opposition party, and even some members of the Democratic Party. But I think Obama is committed to it. Welcome. Yes, young lady.
I'm not going to challenge your assertion that work is not in decline. I would take your word for it. I wondered if you could elaborate on the divisiveness that you yourself, you have admitted, the acrimoniousness, if there's such a word, in Congress and in Washington. The flip statement is that Washington needs to be fixed because nothing happens. But I'd ask you to just elaborate briefly, where do you see the end game? Because it seems to me, just as an external observer, it's impossible. It's a real threat to democracy, in fact. How can the United States hold itself up in the world as being the bastion of democracy when they are so totally hamstrung in their seat of power by this refusal of either side to come together for the sake of America? I mean, everything is politically driven. And to compound the issue, you have the talking heads and all the cable networks that have to fill their 24 hours with garbage. I really fail to see how it will end. What's the end game? And I would like to suggest that one way it will end is that the people, I'm really very hopeful that the people of the United States, at least the ones who think, will eventually get so fed up of this polemic that they will rise up and either run them out of town or say, look, we'll have to change the way the decision making is done in this country. And, really, because I know that the founding fathers had intended this balance of power and, to have not one arm of government to have it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way things are now, I suggest, Ambassador, if everything is relying on Congress. I mean, as a former diplomat myself, it was very strange. We could never get a decision out of the State Department because everything is Congress. So could you please elaborate and tell me where you see the end game?
Well, tell me your name again, madam.
I'm Cecile.
Miss Clayton?
Yeah, Clayton.
Yes, Miss Clayton. Yes, and I sense her frustration because actually I used to be a perpetrator of that myself. Because when I was put in thorny, difficult situations, I told the truth that the legislative process was hamstringing the executive branch from doing what it wants to do. But it can also just be a fallback position. And I think many foreign diplomats and other observers question, the legitimacy or the basis of this claim. Well, it's founded in the principle of how America was founded, and it sounds like hackneyed. And in a way it is hackneyed because I think there needs to be, in my judgment, and I'm not a constitutional lawyer like President Obama, but if I saw him on a one-on-one, I would say, Mr. President, there are some constitutional principles that are anachronistic, that they serve, that's why you have amendments to the Constitution. If they were set in stone, you wouldn't have had amendments. Well, you need some more amendments in the Constitution. And some of them are founded in the dialogue over in a federal system between the center and its constituent parts, i.e. states' rights. Some of these are parts of the conundrum. However, the divisiveness. The divisiveness, I hate to say this, but I'll say it because we're among friends. A lot of people in America are not happy that Barack Obama, a black man, is the president of the United States. I hate to say it so frankly. Yeah. No, this is... Even the president says it, so why can't I say it, right? Even the president says it, right? It doesn't mean that the division is just, on a racial spectrum. Because many non-black people supported Obama, fought for him, went to bat for him. They're in his cabinet, they are in his government, they are committed. So one has to be careful that characterization is it has to be tempered or adjusted. However, there is rancor, I think, in Washington. One of the reasons I didn't resign in Washington was retire in Washington was I just couldn't take the rancor anymore. Those people who live within the Beltway, they have a they have a construct. One, it begins with, we know it all. We know you guys live in the bush, right? And I tell them all the time, I said, you need to get out of here and hear what other people are saying elsewhere. That's a major problem. So there is a divisiveness between those who look at Washington with almost scorn in far places, and those in Washington who think they are the enlightened. Now, I'll say this with caution. President Obama believes in excellence, and he believes in people who try to better themselves and so forth. But there is and he believes in inclusiveness. But there is something about wide United States. There are lots of brilliant people all over America that don't have to come from the eastern seaboard around Washington and Boston and New York. There is a preponderance amount of people in advisory capacities who come from that part of America. You know, the last election, the first one with Obama, if you remember the four candidates who were up there, McCain, what's her name, Sarah? No, the election before. It was McCain and Sarah Palin and Barack Obama and Joe Biden. I've made this observation and people say it's meaningless. I give it to you. Those four candidates, right? They came from the three last states to be incorporated in America. Hawaii, I said, right? Alaska and Arizona. And the lone figure of Joe Biden came from the first state of America, Delaware. That constellation, I found no historical precedence. It suggested to me that somebody thought that this country, the United States, need to be more integrated, that those on the periphery should be brought into the center. What I see now is those in the center now are not reaching out to the periphery. So you have this inside view of what is best for America. He needs to be, in my humble opinion, be what he said he is, and that is more inclusive, and that meaning more inclusive. You find some brilliant woman in Mississippi, a lovely man up in Bangor, Maine, and bring them into the center, because they also bring to the discussion. And he needs to get into East Harlem, and he needs to do all these things. He has done some of it, but in my estimation, not in the way that I interpret it. Maybe it's my misinterpretation of inclusiveness. Because for me, inclusiveness means also regional inclusiveness. When we joined the Foreign Service, it was only people from the Eastern Seaboard represented America. You know that. And I was one, I take another braggadocio, my friend Norton. I was one of those people who fought for the right of other people to be considered in there if they have the excellence and the capability. And I went to bat for it. I didn't win many friends. Anyhow. So, threat to democracy. Great scholars in this institution know that there are different types of democracies. There is not only the American democracy. I remember Pakistan years ago, they had what they called tutelary democracy. That's a fancy term. I remember that many years ago when they had the Sito Pact and all of that. There is the British model. There is the Jamaican model, different democratic